All right, let's talk about data mining. It's the process that quietly turns all those little digital footprints you leave online into some seriously powerful predictions and products. But, there's a line, an ethical one. What happens when that line gets crossed? That's what we're digging into today.
I mean, you've been there, right? You do a quick search for, say, a new pair of hiking boots, and for the next week, every single website you go to is screaming about outdoor gear. It's not magic, and you're definitely not crazy. That's just data mining doing its job, trying to figure out what you want, sometimes even before you do.
So here's the game plan for today. We'll start with how your data gets a whole second life you never knew about. Then we're going to look at the tech that predicts your next move. We'll get into the huge debate over permission, opt-in versus opt-out, and then look at some real cautionary tales. From there, we'll zoom out to see the bigger picture of data in society, and finally check out the rules trying to keep it all in check.
Okay, first things first. The entire universe of data mining is built on this one really simple but incredibly powerful idea. The info you give out for one reason can be, and absolutely is, used for something else entirely.
And that brings us to our first key term, secondary use. It's exactly what it sounds like. You give a company your data to, say, buy a t-shirt. That's the primary use. But then they take that same data and use it for something totally different, like building a marketing profile on you. That's its second life.
Here's a perfect example you probably see every single day. You go to Google and search for bass. Now, the primary use is obvious. Find websites about bass. But the secondary use, that's Google looking at all your past searches to figure out, is this person a musician or an angler? It's constantly analyzing you in the background.
And this diagram, it shows you the whole ecosystem. All your little interactions online, your digital footprints, get collected by a central data broker, this W Corp in the middle. They're not just seeing one piece of the puzzle, they're putting all the pieces together to create a startlingly detailed picture of you, which they then use for laser-focused marketing.
So data mining isn't just about figuring out what you've done in the past. The real magic, or maybe the creepy part, is that it's all about predicting what you're gonna do next, which brings us to collaborative filtering. So what is collaborative filtering? Well, it's the engine behind all those recommendations you see on Amazon or Netflix. The logic is actually pretty simple. If you like a lot of the same movies as another person, chances are you'll probably like the other movies they like too. It's a people like you also like this machine. And they get this info in two main ways. The first is explicitly. That's when you actually give a movie 5 stars or a thumbs up. But the real treasure trove for them is the implicit data. That's them tracking what you buy, what you click on, even how long your mouse hovers over a product. It's basically them watching over your shoulder 24/7.
Okay, so this all leads to a massive ethical question. They've got all this data on you, and they're using it in all these new ways, but did you ever actually say that was okay? This is where we get into the whole battle over permission.
I mean, really think about it. When you buy something, who actually owns the record of that sale? Is it you? Is it the store? It seems like a simple question, but the answer really decides how your privacy is handled. And it all comes down to two very different models.
And here they are. Opt-in versus opt-out. The difference is huge. With opt-in, a company can't do anything with your data unless you actively check a box that says, yes, go for it. But with opt-out, it's the total opposite. They can share it by default, and the burden is completely on you to hunt down some hidden setting and say, hey, stop that. Guess which one most companies prefer?
So as you can imagine, the tension between these models and the power of all this data has blown up more than a few times. Let's look at some real-world stories where data mining went way over the line.
First up, let's take a trip back to the early 90s. A company called Lotus planned to release a product called Marketplace. It was basically a CD-ROM stuffed with the names, addresses, and even estimated incomes of 120 million Americans ready to be sold to any small business that wanted to send you junk mail.
The public reaction was not good. People were absolutely furious. We're talking more than 30,000 people writing in to complain and demand their names be removed. The backlash was so intense, Lotus had to cancel the entire project before it even hit the shelves. It was a huge wake-up call.
Now let's jump forward to 2007 and the infamous Facebook Beacon. This was the classic opt-out model. If you bought something from a partner website, Beacon would just automatically post it to your Facebook wall for all your friends to see. You were opted in by default, and things got messy. Fast.
Yeah, this led to some genuine disasters. This quote is based on a true story. A guy named Sean Lane bought an engagement ring for his fiancée, and bam, Facebook Beacon broadcast the purchase to all his friends and family, including her. Surprise over.
The public outcry was so big that Facebook eventually had to backtrack and make Beacon opt-in only.
And then you have the Netflix prize. Back in 2006, Netflix decided to offer $1 million to anyone who could improve their recommendation system. To do this, they released this massive dataset, 100 million movie ratings from 500,000 users, and they swore up and down that the data was totally anonymized.
Well, here's the lesson. There's almost no such thing as truly anonymous data. Researchers at the University of Texas pretty quickly proved that by cross-referencing the Netflix data with public ratings on IMDb, they could figure out who the users were. It completely shattered the illusion of safe, anonymized data and led to a lawsuit and Netflix canceling the next competition.
So these stories show the risks when it comes to just buying stuff. But the impact of data mining goes so much further than shopping carts. It is now a huge force in our politics, in law enforcement. It's shaping society itself.
In politics, the big word is micro-targeting. Campaigns take public voter records and mash them up with massive consumer data sets, what car you drive, what magazines you read. This lets them build incredibly detailed profiles to send custom-tailored, persuasive messages right to the people they think they can swing. It's a game changer, and it raises some serious questions.
And the stakes just keep getting higher. Law enforcement agencies are now using social network analysis, sifting through public posts on social media. The idea is to predict where large gatherings, from block parties to political protests, might happen. And that, as you can imagine, opens up a whole other can of worms about surveillance and free speech.
So with all of this power and all this potential for misuse, you have to ask, what are the rules? Are there any laws on the books to govern all of this? Let's take a quick look.
For the most part, yes. Most countries have laws that are trying to strike this really delicate balance. On one side, you've got laws like the Freedom of Information Act that push for transparency and public access to data. On the other side, you've got data protection acts that are all about safeguarding individual privacy. The problem is, these two goals are often pulling in opposite directions.
And really, that leaves us with the big, lingering question for our digital age. Technology is moving at light speed, the amount of data being collected is exploding, but our laws, our ethics, they move at a much slower human pace. So as this technology gets more and more powerful, can the rules of the road ever really keep up? That's the question we're all going to have to answer together. Thanks for watching.